Boys, welcome back to the channel. Today we got an absolute banger video. We're going to just go over why you're not seeing results in the gym. We're going to talk about progress plateaus, body stagnation, body adaptation, why you're simply not seeing results, why you're essentially only a few tweaks away from unlocking substantial growth. This video is going to be broken down to 3 key essentials and how you can actually take actionable advice and use it to your life to get the results you want. First, we're going to talk about progress plateaus. Second, we're going to talk about body adaptation, why you're essentially not seeing the results and how it kind of funnels into the progress plateaus. And then the third, guys, is an actionable game plan you guys could use to literally unlock growth that you're just honestly a few tweaks away. So guys, really highly suggested video. I'm going to break this down in 15 minutes, give you everything you need so you can walk out with actionable advice. If you're new to the channel, you've been to the channel, welcome back. So guys, let's break down the 3 key essentials as I mentioned: progress plateaus, body adaptation, and a game plan you guys can use right now. First, let's touch on progress plateaus. Guys, we have to realize that the more we do something, the more we get acclimated to it. It's like anything else in life. If you keep on doing something redundant, you're going to just be getting the same, output. And that's why essentially you have to think about your muscles the same way. Your muscles get used to doing these same exercises over and over. Think about like repetition. The more you do it, you're going to just get used to it. Your muscles work the same exact way. The more you get used to something, the more your body's going to get stagnant. So what we have to do is honestly switch up the ways we're doing about certain exercises. In order to stimulate, faster muscle growth, we have to change different variations of the workouts we're doing. For the bench press, for example, yes, the bench press is probably, the best compound lift you can use. But there's other ways to do about it that hits the same muscle group but a different variation to stimulate new growth. So you're like, Alex, what are some examples of this? I got you, boys. So first, guys, let's talk about the bench press and like how this could be just a versatile example that you can use to any muscle group. Maybe it's your legs, shoulders, triceps, biceps, your back, whatever muscle group. Just think about it this way and use this model that I explained right now, and it's really going to unlock substantial growths that are probably just hidden inside these few tweaks you're just not doing. So guys, if we break down the chest, this is a very simple and easy example I think is going to nail the point in the head. Is yes, we have the ability to hit the entire muscle. So if we again look at the bench press, that's what it's doing. It's hitting this entire muscle. But if our body's getting stagnant, if we're not seeing, ability to, increase in weight, or we're kind of plateauing in muscle gain, and essentially we're just not able to lift more, why don't we think about it like this? Okay, if we're going to hit the chest, essentially, what's another compound lift that could actually do the same thing, but it's a different way about doing it? What the essential answer is switch out from a bench press, maybe to a Smith machine press, to a dumbbell press, to, a machine-based press. Any press that allows you to hit the same muscle group, but a different variation of it. Because guys, you have to think about it like this. The more you do something, the muscle is just going to get muscle memory. It's going to keep on doing. Your muscles get used to what you do. That's why, your body adapts to essentially what you do periodically. So you have to switch up on, the essential input you're doing to get the output you want. Even though we're hitting the so-called same muscle group, it's actually doing a lot more than you think, because guys, you need to essentially exert the muscle in different ways to essentially overcome these progress plateaus. It's extremely normal to have, but you have to think about different ways of going about it. And essentially when we could do this, so say if you're doing a bench press for maybe 2 to 3 months and you're just not seeing the weight increase, you've been sticking at that 225 for 2 plates and you just can't get over it. What I want you to essentially do is for 2 to 3 months, switch over to an exercise that, as I just mentioned, maybe it's a dumbbell press, maybe it's a Smith machine press, maybe it's a machine-based press that also gives you the ability to hit that muscle group, but you're just doing it a different way. And what it's essentially going to do is that's going to confuse the muscle. When the muscle gets confused, you're essentially allowing new growth to essentially stimulate, because they don't know what's happening. Your muscle doesn't know what's happening. So if you can switch this out, it's really going to allow you to stimulate new growth and get over these progress plateaus. What you can also do, which is the second point of this, of why your body's getting stagnant or you're going through these progress plateaus, is don't only change the exercise, change the format of your workouts. A lot of people are going to think this is weird, but think about it like this, guys. That's a perfect example. You're going to be like, what the hell? It really works, and it really unlocks new substantial growth. So when you're doing a leg workout, everyone starts with the squat. I think it's very common that everyone starts with squat, because I start with squat, and it's just, the common, you always want to start with the big lift. But if you're always being stagnant and you're essentially just not seeing growth, you're like, all right, like, how do I go about this? Maybe if I change the exercise and it's just not working, which most of the time it does. But if you want to, of course, change your workouts, make it a little more interesting, because it gets boring doing the same shit over and over again. Why don't you switch the order of your workout? So when you want to talk about this, so guys, maybe instead of starting with a back squat, let's start with a quad press, or a quad press, leg extension, whatever you want to call it, or you're doing your calf raises first, or you're doing your RDLs, whatever it is. Confuse the muscle, kind of switch up the order. That really allows your muscles to not stay, of course, stagnant, because you're changing the structure and the order of your workouts. That's really important. That allows you to see new growth and really allow you to of course, exert the muscle in a different fashion. You're not just doing a different exercise, but you're also changing the structure of rate, which of course confuses the muscle, which confusing the muscle allows you to stimulate new growth, and new growth allows you to kind of get over these progress plateaus. So this kind of reflects over to point number 2, body adaptation. When we're essentially doing the same things over and over again, because that's why it's extremely important to identify this. You guys have to identify this, and that's why the first point I wanted to touch on is the progress plateaus, and then body adaptation. You have to understand how to recognize it. And once you can understand how to recognize it, you can essentially take the time you were spent maybe doing the same thing over and over again, just not seeing results, just essentially wasting time, and understand how it occurs and then how to fix it before you essentially take that first point and just switch out your workouts essentially if you don't want to. So first, guys, if we're going to actually identify this, which is kind of go into the nuances of the progress plateaus, I kind of like give you the broad overview of like what is a progress plateau? Is like, of course, when your body gets stagnant, you're not seeing new growth, and then how can we actually go about what I just said and change it? So when we actually start to break this down, how do we see when our muscles are just not growing? There's a sign right there. But also, what you could do is honestly look at how do you feel? How does your body kind of acclimate to what you're doing? Like, are you seeing results, tangible results in your physique? The third point, are you actually going? Are you actually enjoying what you're doing? Stuff like this, because once you can essentially identify like what you're doing, is it sustainable? Of course, guys, you need to switch out your workouts, but if you're not seeing results, and not just a day, guys, don't think about it as days and weeks. If you're not seeing results in a month or two, then it's time to really identify it. And the way you kind of do this is essentially by tracking your sets, your reps, your weight, and the intensity. And when you can really see that, when you can actually use data, you have to use data, because if you're not using data, how are you going to know? Like, of course, you could be like, like last time I did 135 or 10, yeah, but like you need to track your data. Tracking your data gives you valuable information to really tweak and adjust as you essentially start to progress. I'm sure you guys had this problem too. You're like, like last time, like I definitely did 8 reps for 225. Realistically, you probably did 4. That kills you because it's not accurate data. So make sure you're logging your stuff. You could write down a pen and paper. You could write down your phone. I don't give a shit what you do. Just make sure you track it, because that's how you really identify. Of course, guys, if you're pushing this weight but you're actually not tracking your stuff, how are you really going to know you're doing it right? You don't. So make sure you track the data, and that's what's really important, because once you track the data, you get actionable information that you could literally see, like, okay, I've been at this, I've been at this number for, 1 or 2 weeks now, or maybe a month right now, and it's just not working. That's allowing you to see the data you tracked. You've been seeing the reps, the sets, and you're like, I'm just not increasing. Maybe you're doing progressive overload, which is the next point on an actual game plan you could use to overcome this. But maybe if you're doing progressive overload and your ability to stay in the 6 to 9 rep range, you're staying at 6 reps consistently, something's happening. You got to change, the variation of your workout. And then that's why variation workouts, of course, as I mentioned, maybe, for example, as I mentioned previously, just at the point in the head, you're doing a bench press, and of course you're not seeing growth, it's just staying stagnant. You're going to do maybe a dumbbell press, a machine-based press, a Smith machine press instead of or maybe a barbell press, what all this different stuff that hits the same muscle group, but essentially allows for new angles on the muscle to be hit to exert new muscle growth in different areas. And that's, extremely important. So guys, I hope that was, breaking down, of course, the progress plateaus, why the body adaptation, how we essentially find it. So now there's 3 ways we can actually go about and actually attack this: progressive overload, variation workouts, and consistency and sustainability. The third point kind of funnels into points 1 and 2, as I mentioned, but I'm going to break down exactly how we're going to do it. So guys, the number one way to, of course, do this on top of your variations that I touched on briefly, but I'm going to go into a little more detail now, is to make sure we're tracking our stuff. And this is why you have to do everything systematically, how I mentioned in the video. Unless if you take one out, it's like a tripod, guys. You're just taking one out, the rest is going to fall, because you're not doing everything you need to honestly get over this hurdle. So guys, point number 1 is to make sure we do progressive overload. And that's the ability to continuously build muscle over time. And if we look at our rep ranges for each one, for compound lifts and our isolation lifts, our compound lifts, like our bench press, our back squat, our barbell row, and overhead shoulder press, incline press, you're going to operate anywhere from 6 to 9 reps. Once you hit the 9 rep mark, you're going to essentially increase the weight. Your reps are going to decrease. You're going to rinse and repeat to build muscle over time. That's essentially how you do it. And guys, if your body's staying stagnant, of course, to that exercise you're doing, maybe you're doing a Smith machine bench press, you're going to then switch over to dumbbells or Smith machine press, like a machine. That's going to really allow you to stimulate new growth. And now, of course, we're talking about the isolation lifts, which is honestly, so if we're not too familiar with isolation lifts, that's the ability to hit a subsection of the muscle group. So for example, if we have our shoulder, which our shoulder press hits the entire muscle, and then we want to isolate a part of the shoulder, which is our front lateral right here. Then you do, maybe you want to do front dumbbells. I know it's pretty close, but sorry. Front dumbbells, that isolates this. And you want to operate anywhere from rep range of 10 to 12 reps. Same thing, once you hit the 12 mark, you're going to increase the weight, reps are going to decrease, you're going to rinse and repeat to build muscle over time. And guys, that's the key formula for your compound lifts and isolation movements. And then if we follow it into point number 2, which is the variation technique, guys, if you look at our compound lifts, even our isolation lifts, guys, there's so many variation techniques. You got to be, you got to have outside the box thinking, or you could just literally search on Google. Either one works, but there's so many different variations to the same muscle group, but a different way to stimulate new growth. And the points I mentioned previously allow you to not only track it, understand, and then analyze it, and then really as a plan and attack, which is this part right here, to really get substantial growth. So for example, guys, I think examples are the best, that's how I learn. I just have to, someone has to say it, and it really allows me to, really see the point, because I can vision it. So essentially, guys, if we talk about a variation workout, let's do I know we used the chest example before, maybe let's use the shoulder example right now. If we're talking about the shoulder workout, we're going to do both compound, both isolation. For our compound lift, guys, we could do maybe a dumbbell press. So, dumbbell press. And guys, if we've been doing that for a while and we're just not seeing any results, and we're taking from our points mentioned earlier, we've been tracking our data and it's been 2 or 3 months and we're just not seeing any muscle gain, nothing, physically with the body, nothing. What we're going to do is switch to a variation of a compound lift for, the shoulder. So maybe what we're going to do is a barbell, bench press, where we could do the same thing, standing up, sitting down, and that also hits the entire shoulder. It's a different variation, but allows us to hit the same muscle group in a different way that allows us to exert the muscle and to really get substantial growth. And then we're going to be operating our rep range, as I previously mentioned, 6 to 9 reps. Same thing, and that's going to be the true indicator once you track your stuff. That's why tracking is so important, because you can use that benchmark if you're hitting 6 to 9 reps and not essentially guessing. And if you're making growth, that's how you're going to build muscle over time and really overcome, that stagnation, body adaptation, as I mentioned earlier. For the isolation part, maybe I know I touched on the front of the shoulder. Let's do the side delt. You could use a dumbbell. You could do an easy bar where you literally just hold the entire bar and do the side laterals. You could use cables with the single arm grip. That's the same thing, guys. You're going to do 10 to 12 reps. Once you hit the 12, you're going to increase the weight. Reps are going to decrease. You're going to rinse and repeat over time. And that's really how you do it in a nutshell, guys. I don't want to make this video too confusing, go into too many details. It's best to hit the points on the head, because that's how you essentially are going to start. You just need to start learning the applied action. Once you apply the action you learn, that means you can see stuff you couldn't see before, and that allows you to make substantial growth towards your body, and of course, build in the effective muscle, as we talked about. And the third point, guys, to sum it all together, is consistency. Guys, you're not going to see results in a day or week. A month, you can see great results, but it's long-term consistency. You're going to see what happens. You're going to be tracking your data. You're going to be going through trial and error. You're going to see what your body adapts to, what your body needs to work on. And essentially, guys, you learn more about the stuff in the process when you apply action. And guys, if you're essentially taking all this information in and then you're just not doing anything, that's mental masturbation, is productive procrastination. I've honestly done this stuff too long. Just don't do it. Just apply the action you learn. You see substantial growth because you're actually getting real data back. And that's why you always want to track yourself, because you actually see what works and what doesn't work. So guys, I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, I try to do these videos as quick as possible, high value per second, give you everything you need. And I hope I did just that, to really unlock, of course, the ability to get over these progress plateaus, this body adaptation, to unlock substantial muscle growth, to really unlock your dream physique. As you guys can see over here, I've unlocked a quite aesthetic physique. And these are the principles I use to really unlock my dream body, and how I was essentially go about certain problem solving tactics. And this was probably the #1 recommended video, and stuff that I definitely struggle with along my journey. So guys, again, thank you for watching another video on the channel. So excited to have you guys here. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Just gives you in-time notifications about new videos drop on the channel, how you can take actionable advice and really change your life, because fitness changed my life, and I want to help others do the same thing, and to really expedite, the ability to not only feel better, but look better, have more confidence, be more productive, have discipline, structure, all this self-accountability, all this funnels into having fitness as the epicenter of your life. And guys, if you haven't known already, make sure to check out the IG over here. I give in-time stuff of how you can use actionable daily stuff every single day that really allows you to honestly see behind the scenes of how my fitness journey is literally acclimated into my lifestyle, why I love it, why it's a part of me, it becomes my identity, and it just becomes a lifestyle at this point. I try to give actionable tips every single day that you guys stuff could use, and it really, essentially is just my walking blueprint of all my trial and error and what really works for me and how I was able to get the results I am today. So again, guys, thank you for watching another video on the channel. I'm so excited to have you guys here. I appreciate anyone who watches the channel. I just want to help lives through fitness, and I hope I did just that in this video. As always, guys, thank you again for taking the time. I hope you crushed today. Let's get after it. Let's honestly be 1% better. 1% better leads to compounding growth, and I hope I did just that in this video. Thank you again, guys, and we'll go ahead and see you in the next video on the channel.